have a full house. We have a full house registered, so we'll probably have a few people trickle in. And we also have a bunch of folks on webinar, so that's exciting. Hello out there in webinar land. You good to go, Jesse? All right, thank you. Okay, so welcome. My name is Julie Ansell, and I'm the change manager for the SFP, and FSP stands for Financial Services Project. You might have heard that we're implementing a huge new financial and procurement system here at the city. And my job as change manager is to make sure that everybody's ready for the change, embracing the new application through training and outreach. And one of my favorite things to do is to do outreach to the vendors, because I love working with vendors. I used to work over at the PUC and worked very closely with vendors and contractors over there, and so really enjoy working with you all and making sure that your needs are met, because we can't do our jobs without you. So let's get going here. We are going to do a little bit of an overview of the FSP project. We are going to talk about our supplier outreach efforts. You're going to find out that you're now going to be referred to as suppliers as opposed to vendors, contractors, consultants, all the catchphrases that we have for you guys. You're now going to be referred to as suppliers. We're going to talk about the supplier portal and what you can do in that piece of functionality. We're going to talk about all the things that you can do in our new application. We'll hit training. And then we're going to hit some FAQs that we've been getting from you all, some highlights, and then we'll get to your questions. So you'll have plenty of time to ask questions, and we'll give you some answers if we can give them at the end. So again, I'm Julie Ansell, and some of you may have exchanged emails with Brandon Mehrhoff. So I want Brandon to kind of come down in the middle here. Brandon, can you give a wave to everybody? Brandon is that lucky person who gets to respond to all of your emails that you've been sending to SF City Partner, and we're going to share that. You'll see at the bottom of the screen there, that's our email, and when you have a question, a burning question that you might have, or you receive something from us and you think, is this a scam? We've been getting a lot of that lately, unfortunately. Is this a scam? Then shoot us an email and we'll let you know if it's a scam or not. You should have received a couple emails from us, and they're not scams. But it's really important to remember this is not training. We're not going to train you today for a couple of reasons. One is we don't have the system actually ready yet. We're in the middle of testing, and we're still building some of the stuff around the vendor portal, supplier portal. But and the other thing is, you guys won't remember it anyway. You know yourselves that when you take a computer training, if you don't really get in there and start using it, you're not going to remember how to do it. So we're firm believers in just-in-time training, and so we're going to roll out training for you starting July 1st. Sorry, no, that's not right. That would really be just-in-time. June 1st, July 3rd is when we're actually going to cut over to our new system. So that will give you a full month to get in there and access all the training that we're going to provide. So we want you to get your questions answered today. So we are monitoring our SF City Partner inbox live. So if you're watching via WebEx and you won't be able to raise your hand in the audience, go ahead and send us an email at SF City Partner, and we'll make sure that we get that question addressed today. And if you're really super shy, you can do that too. There's Wi-Fi in the audience, in the room, and you can go ahead and send your question via that email box, and we'll try to get it answered today. Okay, so overview of the project. We are rolling out what is called PeopleSoft Financial and Procurement System, and we are at almost at the end of our project. We're getting very nervous over at the project office. We are less than 90 days out from rollout, which is very panicky. It's kind of like, that scene in Alice in Wonderland where the Mad Hatter is saying, we can run as fast as we can, but we're still standing in place. That's kind of how we feel right now. And actually, we went around the room the other day and asked if you could have one superpower, what would it be? And half the people said to stop time. So we're really excited about the thing, but we're getting a little nervous. But we're going to roll out on time. That's the good news. And what we're going to be doing is rolling out right before the July 4th weekend. So that gives us a chance to come in on the holiday and fix any problems that we may have and roll it back if we need to. So it will, for your purposes, you'll be starting in the new system July 5th. So we are embarking on a bunch of supplier outreach. We have sent out a couple emails to you, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. We have kind of basically 4 stages here. One is just to let you know that this is coming. This is why we're having these vendor information sessions. So, because we know what the gossip chain is in the city, and we know that you guys are starting to get bips and bobs. The other day we got a phone call. Is it true we're not going to get paid between June and August? No, that's not true. You definitely are going to get paid between June and August. But, that kind of gossip gets out there and gets everybody freaked out. So we want to make sure that we're, doing these information sessions so you guys know what's coming down the pike and have a sense of how your world is going to change working with the city. So the other thing that we've starting to send emails out about is registration and point of contact. We need you to update that information. I'm going to say that a couple times during this presentation because we really, really need you to do that. And then we'll start sending out information about training. And then finally, over the next year, we're going to start onboarding people onto our online invoicing functionality. Those of you who already use online invoicing will be part of our online invoicing right from the get-go. So those are people who are using Solus over at the PUC or people who are using the electronic system over at DPW. It does not include people who are submitting emails invoices via emails. You'll just continue to do that like you're doing it now. Your world is not going to change around invoicing very much until we onboard you for the online invoicing mechanism. We'll talk more about that. So key information that you should have received by now is, hey, new system is coming. We need a primary point of contact for you. And we want you to update your information via our new website, which I'm going to show you in a second, and that training will be available June 1st. That's all you should know at this point. So don't worry if you don't know more than that. We do have a new website for you guys. So this is going to be your portal from now on into the new system, so we're getting you used to it now. It needs some work, because, as we put it out there, we get feedback from you all, and we also figure out, oh, that's not really working. We need to, help make it easier on the vendors. So, but this is where you go for all the information that you need to know about the new project that's coming, and then when we go live in July, this will be the place that you get all your training, find out about vendor opportunities, and so forth. So there is an FAQ on this page, and you can go there to find out all the information that you need to know, or you can share this with your colleagues. Say, I went to the presentation. You don't have to go. Here's some information that you can access through the FAQs. There, at the very bottom below the fold is a tag called Update Your Info, and when you press on that, it takes you to this Update Info page, which we realize is too many clicks, and we're working on that. But in the meantime, click here to update your info, and then it's going to take you to this page. And I'm going to tell you in a second why we need that. But basically, you're going to fill out your point of contact name. Now, we gave you a code in an email as kind of like a secret code. And the reason we did that is we're really concerned about your security. We want to make sure that there's nobody that's trolling on our website, downloading information from the public website and figuring out, basically creating a dummy account in your name. So that's why we give you that secret code. You should have gotten an email from us by this time. If you didn't, you can contact Brandon at that email that we talked about earlier. If you didn't receive it, make sure you do that. If you did receive it, you should have gotten a secret code. You go in there, you put in your secret code, and you update your information. That way we know to link it back to you. Now, we know, here's the why. We know that you guys, it's kind of amazing, actually. There's so many duplicate vendors in our system right now, and apparently there's good reason for that. We have done a really yeoman's job trying to reduce the number of duplicates we have in our system, but we've gotten it. We still have, I think the last number that I heard was we have 27,000 vendors that we're trying to outreach to, and really 16,000 of those are unique identities. You may work for one of these companies, for example, MWH, a local chapter of MWH, and, for example, an international chapter of MWH. I like to use them as an example because they're one of our duplicate vendors. We need to know for that entity, who is your point of contact, because we're going to set up a vendor administrator in that point of contact name. What does a vendor administrator do? As the slide shows, they're kind of the director. They're going to be able to go into your account and provide accounts to other people in your office. So, say, for example, you have Joe in your office. He's kind of the office manager, but he doesn't do the bids. There's somebody else in your office that does the bids. Joe's going to be able to go in and add that person to your account so that person can do your bids. Why do we do that instead of centralizing it down on our office? Because we don't know who your folks are, and it's really, you have the best, you're in the best position to understand who should have access to your account. So we don't want to take that on and make a mistake. We're making it really flexible for you to do that on your own. So that's why we need a single point of contact, that vendor administrator who's going to be kind of the director and say, okay, you're going to do bids, I'm going to sign you up for that. You're going to go in and update our banking account information. You're going to handle invoicing. You're going to be able to give permissions to those folks to do those things as the vendor administrator. So, and if you have questions about that, we can address them at the end of the presentation. So let's talk about our new system tools. I think you guys are going to like this new system. It's giving you a lot of different tools. We know that working with the city can be a little frustrating, for sure. We understand that. We know that sometimes we get a little behind in payment, and we make you go through a lot of paperwork, and we know it's hard. So we're trying to make it simpler. We have really streamlined the bidding process in the new system, and you're going to be doing that all online. Don't get nervous, construction contractors. We're going to work through that whole public bidding process. For the short term, you will continue to do public bid openings, but you'll be able to sign your contract online and be able to track the approval process. You'll be able to track your purchase orders, track your payments, track your invoices, all that good stuff. You're also going to pay mode is going to go away. You will now be paid directly from the system, not directly, but you'll put your information in the system. The system will send that information to your bank account, and then you'll be paid. Your money will be deposited, which I really encourage people to do day one. Get in there and fill out your bank account information. And the reason for that is, again, pay mode, any of you who are signed up for pay mode and you know how quick that is, it like gets into your bank account the very next day. If you don't do that, you're going to go back to getting checks, and we only cut checks once a week. So that means that if you're lucky, you'll get, maybe within 6 days payment as opposed to getting it the next day. So you really want to get in there and sign up for automatic deposit. And you can do that just after we roll out. We're expecting you to do that. Mm-hmm. No. Can we talk about that a little bit later? Yeah, I don't want to get off on, but we'll talk about it. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, there's a big name change. Some of the people in the city call you bidders, we call you vendors, we call you contractors. In the new system, we're moving it to bidders and suppliers. If you're here, you're a supplier because you've heard, hopefully, you're here because we reached into our vendor database and we contacted you. or maybe a department recommended that you come, but you're probably a supplier. That means someone who's already approved to do business with the city and probably has a contract already with the city. A bidder is someone who's not yet an approved supplier with us, but wants to be able to bid, and so they can come in and register in the system. They can tag themselves with particular expertise so that they get notice of particular opportunities, and so they would be referred to as a bidder. So starting day one, which again is July 3rd, we will have all of our active vendors on record in the system. That doesn't mean, however, that that account is activated, because of course we want your point of contact person to come in and activate the account on the first day. So we'll send you an email on July 3rd and say, hey, we're open for business, come on in, register, and you'll be able to manage your account, follow that link, manage your account, sign in. You'll be able to view all the open opportunities that we have and submit bids on them. And again, you'll be able to view and track any invoices that you have in the system, even if they were submitted in the old, through the old method, because we'll bring, wait a minute, are we bringing over invoices? Shoot, I can't remember that. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I think we'll talk about blackout dates a little bit later, but in any case, you'll be able, any new invoices that you submit, you'll be able to track in the new system. So, and only some vendors, as I said earlier, will be able to use the system for online invoicing. Those vendors who are currently doing that in our with some department. So also we're doing all of our supplier compliance in the new system. So you know all those pesky forms that you have to fill out? All that will be done in the new system, and it'll be much easier to address. You'll still have to pay your business tax outside of the system, but we will be able to see that information inside the system so that, you know, our folks won't have to go tracking down whether or not you're up to date on your business tax. We'll be putting whether or not you're, you know, when you do your insurance, we'll have that expiration date in the system so that we can give you a heads up when, hey, your insurance is expiring. We don't want you to miss any payments. Make sure that you renew that, and then you can also submit, attach evidence of that in the new system. And then we'll be doing vendor approval within the new system as well. So submitting bids in the new system is a great new functionality. This is going to take some, you know, how shall I say it? This is going to take some getting used to, I think, both for departments and for you guys, because from our department's perspective, they've got it down to a science. They really know how to get those bids in the door and review them and get them evaluated. So they kind of feel like they have been absolutely efficient in the way that they currently process bids. And that's great. However, we've noticed that there's a lot of paper involved in doing bids, and there's also a lot of calculations that folks have to do that the system could be doing for you. So we actually think that this new way of doing things is going to, in the long run, make it easier. Of course, I'm not going to lie, change is hard. It's going to be a little bumpy the first couple of months as we roll this out, because it's not a system that we've used before. However, the good news is we're going to give you just-in-time training around bidding opportunities. So when, for example, the PUC offers a bid opportunity, we'll hold a little workshop right before, you know, well in advance of that bid opportunity so that you can be refreshed on how to do that functionality. So, and also we have self-service training, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So you'll be able to do everything online. You'll be able to upload all your documents. You'll be able to upload your bid, your bond, evidence of your bond. You'll be able to upload all the things that we currently require you to hand in those big stacks. So the other good news is it really levels the playing field. So for those of you who are new vendors who might not have the resources, for example, of a multinational company, you are not going to have to, basically we're going to be really reviewing your work based on, you know, your qualifications and how you meet them in a system. We're not going to be looking at the wood-burned cover, and we have gotten those before, that is really a slick package that some of the really big companies provide us. And yes, that does make your bid look good. However, you're going to be able to take all that expense away. The good news for the multinational companies is you can take all that expense away. All we want to know is your information, and it's all going to be coming in through the same portal. So purchase orders. You'll be able to log in and acknowledge the purchase order. So we're going to create purchase orders. This is really more for your suppliers, our commodity suppliers. But we'll be able to create purchase orders very easily in the new system. It's going to be much faster. And you'll be able to come in and acknowledge them. Yes, I've received this. I'm going to deliver on it. And you'll be able to view your terms and conditions, and it will make the process between the two parties much simpler and much more transparent. Again, talking about, we're going to use DocuSign to sign the contracts. I don't know how many of you currently use DocuSign, but it makes it very simple to get those signatures. And as you know now, one of the biggest delays in a contract is waiting for the signature. And also, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes we actually have to take that hard copy contract, and we actually have to walk it to like several different buildings in the Civic Center. So that won't happen anymore. And that actually takes time, as you can imagine. It might take several days to get from one building to the next building, to the next building, to the next building. So all that's going to be done electronically, and all those approvals will be done online. So that should really speed things up as well. Yay, right? Yay. Okay. So this one is my favorite part of it, the online invoicing, and I really encourage you to embrace this piece of functionality because it's going to make your lives much easier. We have a new system that it's a matching process, so that if your purchase order calls for, I'm going to make this really simple, if your purchase order calls for delivering 15 shovels at the price of $1 each, for a total of $15, and the shovels come in, and we mark on our receiving that we received 15 shovels for $1 each for a total of $15. Guess what? When you submit your invoice, boom, it's paid. You don't even have to go through 3 or 4 approval processes that you do now, which, by the way, is kind of crazy. But we're leaving that system behind us. If all those three things match, and as long as it's under a certain dollar threshold, you're going to be able to get that paid almost instantaneously. So basically, you could almost get paid the same day that you submit your invoice. So that's the really good news. It's a little bit more complicated for professional services and construction, but not too much more, actually. You have to go through an additional approval process so the project manager can sign off. But other than that, there's not this really long waiting that you have to do to get through all these different approvals. So I think you're really going to enjoy that aspect of it. And actually, that applies to both people who are submitting their invoices online and also if you're submitting them to the departments. The departments will have to turn around and enter your invoice in the system if you're not on the online system. So that's why it could slow things down, because if the departments get a deluge of invoices, now they have to enter those all into the new system, just like they do now. So that's why we're trying to get everybody on to the online invoicing. Why are we not just rolling it out to everybody to day one? Because we know that payment is the #1 important thing to you, and we want to make sure that we get it right. And as you know from any new system that you've tested, things go bump, right? There can be some bumps. So we want to make sure that nobody's payment is upheld the first couple of months, and so that's why we're just going to roll it out kind of slowly and make sure that we get it right, and then we'll roll it out to everybody else. Oh, and this is good. Nice segue. We're going to roll out our invoicing to we're going to start with our largest earners, and because they're doing the most transactions with us, and then we'll and also if you're serving multiple departments, we want to make sure that you get on the system first, because that way we get the most bang for our buck. Partial deliveries will be paid as well, yeah. So this is our current plan. So you can see in our first phase, any vendor that's currently using an electronic invoicing system will be rolled out first, and then we'll move to our phase 2, which is any vendor who's had more than $1 million in transactions since our fiscal year of 2015, and then any vendor who's doing business with more than 4 departments. So we will be hitting all those vendors first, and then we'll move on to any vendor who's doing business with more than 2 departments, and then in May of next year we'll hit the rest, everybody else. So the good news is, for those, some of you are thinking, oh, I want to get on it sooner, but actually it's okay, because it means that you'll have a chance to get used to all the other functionality, and then your other world won't really change that much. You'll continue to submit invoices the way that you do now, and the departments will do the rest. Okay, we talked about online payments. Now let's talk about training. Most of our training is self-service, and that means that you're going to be able to look at a video via that website that we showed you before, and it'll be 24/7. You can do it whenever you want to. You can do it after hours. You can do it during hours. You can do it on Saturdays. Whenever you have time to come in and take a look at the video, it'll be there waiting for you. You'll be able to go through the material at your own pace, and you can take the classes over and over again. So that's all really good news for you. And the other good news is it actually is pretty simple, you guys. It's not, you are not going to be overwhelmed, and you are not going to be, oh my God, how does this work? It's a very simple process. In fact, some of the vendors I talk to who are already on PeopleSoft say it's very like Amazon purchasing, that if you can do Amazon purchasing, you can do this. So it's going to be really simple. But we are going to do open labs after we roll out. We'll do open labs all the way through September, the end of September. So if you get stuck, or you feel like you need extra help, and you want to show you want us to show you, for example, how to set up a dashboard, because you're going to have all these cool mechanisms to be able to track all your good stuff. You can come down to our offices and at 1155 Market, and you can drop in, and we can show you how to do things. So we'll have open labs for you at that time as well. So our training topics are going to be how to register, how to navigate the new portal, the supplier portal, basically managing your supplier account, and that would be for our vendor administrators who are going to manage your information, but also manage who is in the system, how to check your compliance, how to submit a bid, being able to negotiate your contract online and acknowledge your purchase orders, submitting and tracking your invoices, tracking payments, and then also your CMD updates. So the good news is, for folks who have to deal with all those forms, Form 7 and Form 9, where you have to show that you paid your subcontractors, all that's going to be online now. So you won't have to fill out those forms anymore. Yay! You will be able to do that right in the system, and the system will calculate it for you, calculate the payments that you've made, and then you'll be able to indicate whether or not you've made those payments onto the subcontractor. So it's going to become super simple. So just to recap, before we get to our FAQs, we're doing our initial outreach now, and we're doing information sessions between March and the end of May. We're then going to move on to training in June, and we will be going live in early July, and we expect you guys to come in and register. So again, we're going to start doing FAQs. How did we get these FAQs? People sent them to this email. So I encourage you guys to write this email down, and I think we can post this. I think we can post this presentation so that you guys have it. I think we can do that on the website so you can download it. Well, Brandon, let's make sure we try to do that. So you'll be able to download this, and or you'll be able to email this particular email and ask us any questions you have, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Sometimes we don't know the answer. If we know the answer, we can pretty much get back to you right away, but sometimes we don't know the answer, and we have to go track down somebody from the functional team. Okay, so let's hit some of these these FAQs. Okay, so the question was, do I need to download or purchase the new application? No. This is an online application. It's similar to when you're using your online banking. The application is there online, and we just give you the credentials to get in there, and you can access the online application. You don't need to do anything. Will vendors get user support? So yeah, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about user support. Absolutely. We're actually going to have a number that is specifically for vendors. We're going to train about half of our help desk to be very familiar with vendor issues so that you will be able to contact somebody on the help desk. We have a great new help desk tool, by the way, that also has a knowledge base that you can get in there and see bite-sized articles. So, for example, instead of taking the whole training over, you might think to yourself, how are they going to do retention on this contract? I forget. So you would then be able to type in retention into the knowledge base, and an article would pop up to show you how we do that in the system, or how you should mark it in your invoice. So you'll be very well supported starting day one. How will subcontractors interact in the new system? Well, subcontractors are going to be entered as bidders. We do have a list of subcontractors that are coming over from our LBE database, and they will, but their only function in the system is to, be aware of any opportunities coming down the pike. But they also have the ability to come in and validate their payments in the system. So remember when I was talking about those forms, Form 7 and Form 9? They're going to be able to come in and say, yay or nay, I did receive that particular payment that you've indicated that you've made. Now, this is not going to hold up your payment if the subcontractor doesn't get their act together to come in and say, yes, I received the payment. But there is a mechanism to alert the invoice processor if your subcontractor comes in and says, I didn't get that payment, I don't know what they're talking about. So then that would alert us that, uh-oh, there's a problem, and we may have to work with you to make sure that you're paying your subcontractor so that we can continue paying you. Okay, so will I still work with the department I've already contracted? Yeah, absolutely. This system is being accessed by our departments from all over the city. We're calling this the one-stop shop for you, but that doesn't mean that you won't continue to have relationships with your departments, and also you'll still submit your invoices to the departments if you're not doing online invoicing. If you're doing online invoicing, you'll submit directly into the system, but you'll still be, of course, working with your clients and making sure that you're meeting their needs and that everybody's understanding what payments are being made. Yeah, you have a follow-up to that? Absolutely, yeah. The city is required to do competitive bidding on everything. Yeah. We do have a couple of very large contracts where we, for example, with Office Depot or Staples, I don't know which one it is these days, but where we do a competitive bid, and then for the whole year we buy office supplies from that particular vendor. So we wouldn't, anytime we go order pencils, we don't do a competitive bid on every single pencil. So exactly. Okay. All right. So do I need to download or purchase the new app? Oh, did I go the right way? I didn't, did I? I already answered that one. Did I have that twice? Do I need to download? What about pay mode? As you know, I've already said a couple times, and I want to keep saying it, pay mode is going away. So you'll have to go into the system on day one and update your bank account information, and so that we can start sending your payments directly to your bank. Okay, is it true we won't get paid between June and August? Absolutely not. You will definitely get paid. However, let's talk about blackout dates. So because we're trying to roll out this massive system, I don't know how many of you know this, but we actually still work on a mainframe. So when we turn on the computer, we're actually seeing a black screen with white dots. That's how technologically advanced we've been up to this date. So, of course, I say that somewhat laughingly because, of course, we have all these other great systems. But we have been still working on our mainframe that was installed in the mid-'80s. It's been a very reliable friend to us, and we're going to throw it a big retirement party when we move over to the new system. But of course, as you can imagine, we have this amazing amount of data in that new system. We need to cut over from that mainframe over to our new system. In order to do that, we can't just flip the switch off on one day and flip the switch on the next day. We need to be able to have a few days where we're actually bringing it over very methodically and making sure that the data is working. So we're going to impose some what we call blackout dates. It will probably happen, and we're going to give you more information about this, so don't panic yet, but probably the last 5 days of the fiscal year, you will not be able to submit invoices. So I'm telling you this now because I encourage you to work with your departments to try to get ahead of schedule, right? To try to make sure that you're submitting your invoices early so that they can get into the system and paid before we do that cutover. Because once we're starting to do that cutover, nothing's going to happen except focusing on that cutover. So we'll want to give you plenty of notice, work with your departments, make sure that you express to them your concern that you get your June payment in early and paid before we cut over to the new system. Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's a great question. Any of you San Francisco taxpayers? Yeah, okay, great. Good news is we're replacing 90 systems across the city with this new system. So yes, Solus is one of those that we'll be replacing. SF Bid will go away. We have a couple homegrown systems over at DPW that will go away. Lots of systems are going to go away as a result of this new system. And that's great for us, and it's also great for you because we're going to be spending less money in technology by replacing all those different systems. And also, you guys, it's hard on you. If you want to get an opportunity, sometimes you have to like hover around the airport's website. You got to hover around DPW. Now you're going to be able to go to one place that's going to list all your opportunities, and you'll know exactly what's happening in the city. You'll be able to filter that list because there's going to be a lot. You'll be able to filter that list. You'll be able to tag yourself with specialties so that you get notice of the ones that you want to get notice of and you don't care about the rest. So it's going to make your job a lot easier. Okay, now I think we're ready for questions. And Brandon is going to come forward, and I think Joe as well. So just raise your hand if you have a question, and make sure that you please ask the question into the mic because our folks on the webinar can't hear you if you're asking, if you're just asking out loud.
This is on. Okay.
Where are we?
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
So about two questions here. First of all, of the systems that are going away, please tell me Exigis is the insurance company or thing.
Yeah, you'd hope, wouldn't you? I definitely feel your pain on that one. I probably shouldn't be so impolitic.
That sounds like a no.
That sounds like a no, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Some of the departments are insisting on holding on to Exigis. However, many of the departments are giving it up. So if you want to like pass on to your departments that you don't like Exigis, that's okay with me.
Oh, they know.
They know. Okay.
And so does contract administration up there. They hate it as well.
So, change is hard, and, we've had to negotiate with 65 different departments trying to get them to let go of their toys, and we haven't always been successful. But I think eventually we'll get there. When they see how robust and the system can do it for them, they'll let go.
Okay, the other question has to do with Solus.
Yeah.
Solus, besides tracking invoices, also tracks task orders. Mm-hmm. Does this system track task orders?
Yeah, it'll be a little different in the new system, but it will be I have a bunch of thoughts in my head at once. I'm not quite sure where to start. So in Solus, we track, and I'm very familiar with the Solus application. In Solus, what we do right now is we track the scope, a certain scope of work, and it may actually involve more than one purchase order. So in the new system, we track everything by purchase order, and we can link those purchase orders to indicate a certain scope of work. So it's kind of a yes/no. When you log in as a vendor, what you'll see is all of your purchase orders. You won't open up and see a task order, so to speak. However, before you get a little upset with that, the departments are going to switch the way that they do things. They're going to move, because also they want to be able to set things up in the new system so it's the easiest to track for them, and also it's the easiest for you to make payment against. So we're working with the departments to kind of make that transition from setting it up as a task order in the system versus setting it up as a purchase order. So it's kind of, I'm not sure I 100% answered your question, but it's a transition. We'll probably have to get back to you about that.
So the thing about the task orders that we're dealing with is that we have one contract that's, I guess, one purchase order. And this is a professional services thing. So
yes.
It's not like we're going out and, doing a bunch of purchase orders all the time, but they track it through task orders now, not through purchase orders.
Well, they do. So financially, they track it through purchase orders, but it rolls up to a task order. So it's just the way that they set it up. Okay. So currently, you'll still be able to get a contract, and you'll still be able to set up multiple purchase orders under that one contract. So the way that they're probably going to move to track things now is to create one purchase order for one task order. And we talked at great length with Rosie and everybody over at the PUC, so they know exactly. They're trying to figure out what's the best way to do it, so it's easy on the vendors, but also easy for them to track.
And so then the follow up on that would be, first of all, would they continue just using the task orders until they fire the ones that are in place, or would they try and change them over to purchase orders right away? And the second one is, not everyone's going to get off of SOLAS and into the system right away, so I assume SOLAS is going to actually continue until people are off of SOLAS? Or is that also?
No, the PUC is keeping a part of SOLAS, but but I don't believe you'll continue to submit your invoices in SOLAS. You will switch to submitting your invoices online.
You're saying
on day one.
On July 5th, everyone that's now on SOLAS will start doing it through people's.
Exactly. And there will be a translation made between what's currently the task order, and it'll move over to the new system as a purchase order, and you'll be informed way ahead of time how that's going to look.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Over here. Okay.
This has to do with contract bidding. Last fall, I think it was about September, I used an online contract bidding form, and I hated it. I found it was redundant in a lot of aspects, and it was for one simple item. I filled out the form. I found it, like I said, redundant, complicated, irritating. I wound up putting my same information, which was really simple, on my letterhead like I normally do. So I added that to the purchaser in an email, as well as filled out the form. I wound up winning the bid.
Yay.
But
so it's worth it.
Yeah, but again, I was confused about that online contract, and so I'm hoping you've improved it since then.
Well,
or if not, is it going to be that way all the time? Because it really was frustrating for one simple item.
Yeah. I don't know what system you were using, so I don't, was it the web procure system? Okay, so I'm actually not that familiar with that system, but from what I've seen, it is very simple to submit a bid, but it really depends on how the department sets it up. So the department has a great deal of flexibility about how they want you to submit the information. My guess is that it's going to be more streamlined. The other good news is that you already have all of your heading information already in the system as a registered supplier, so you won't have to present all, you won't have to fill out all that additional information. It'll already be there in the system when you go to bid. So I think you're going to find it a lot easier. But you can, a year from now, come talk to me. We'll see if we can make any improvements. Oh, sorry, where have we got here?
Julie, we've got a...
Sorry, then? And WebProcure is going away, absolutely. Yeah, okay. So
Julie, we have a couple questions online regarding payments to subcontractors from Prime. How does this relate to Elations?
Elations, we will, so Elations is being replaced, half replaced. So we are replacing the part where we track subcontractor payments from the Prime. We're going to be doing that in the new system because why wouldn't we connect your payment with that reporting? Because then that way it can be automatic for you. But you'll still have to go on to Elations to do the part that we do for the Office of Labor Standards, and that is, making sure that you're paying the correct wage. So that part of Elations will stay. The other part of Elations is going away.
You touched on citywide contracts, like large contracts. How about the small departmental blanket purchase orders for the smaller guys?
How about them?
Are they going away?
Are they going away? Can you give me an example of what you mean by, because there's a lot of discussion around this. Yeah.
I have multiple small departmental blanket POs for like the hospital, the MTA, the Muni, and when they need less than $1,000, they're able to get items like that. I'm not talking large $1 million contracts.
Right.
And that's kind of how I survive, is the
Yes.
smaller, calling on my customer every day.
Yes.
Type stuff.
Yes. So this is what we call the infamous open PO down at the office. And it is, yes, the quick answer is yes, we will still have a mechanism by which somebody down in the yard at the PUC, for example, who is out on a Sunday and needs a part, can go out and get that part without having to set up a purchase order first. So we will have a mechanism to handle that. However, we will encourage departments to move to the purchase order system where they can quickly issue a purchase order and the vendor can respond against the contract, by the way. So we'll open up, in your case, we would open up a contract with you, and then we would say, okay, for example, one of our open purchase orders situations is right here at the library. What they have done in the past is set up a purchase order with a publisher who then delivers them books throughout the year. So what we would encourage them to do is set up a contract with that publisher to deliver the books, but then then the process that they would use to order the books would be through a purchase order. But again, if somebody's down at the yard and they got a breaking valve and they need a part right away, they need to be able to go to the hardware store and get that part without having to worry about writing a purchase order, again, getting 3 signatures. So absolutely, we're going to have a mechanism for that. Okay. All right.
I'm wondering if the historical data or project-to-date data, task order-to-date data will be ported over?
So the historical data will not be brought over into the new system. We're going to bring only balances over to the new system because there is a lot of historical data. So but we will continue to have our mainframe up as kind of our repository for all historical information moving forward. And of course, departments have their own systems that they use to track historical and archival information. So that will continue to be accessed, and we'll be sharing that information with you through SF Open Book. So one thing I forgot to tell you guys is that we have this great new Oracle business intelligence tool that will lay on top of our system, and we'll be able to do all these really great reports now that we will be able to share with the public about the ways in which we're spending our money and which contractors are getting which money, that kind of stuff. So all of that historical data will be available through SF Open Book.
Thank you. And then will we be able to, I use mostly Solus, will we be able to put in like a May or June invoice into the new system? in July?
Yes. Yes. Hold on one second. Wait, there, we have one down here, guys. Okay. Yeah.
On the contractor submission for the bids, can you tell me, will we have a webinar in order to see the opening of the public opening of the bids, or how will that work?
We haven't figured out 100% how it's going to work. We're working with the city attorney on that because, as you know, there's laws around public bid openings. So more on that later, but most certainly we would have a webinar.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
But we would probably do some other things around it as well. Okay, there's one right here, guys, in the middle. Oh, can you just do it through the, because the people on the webinar need to hear you. Yeah.
I just wanted to know if all the questions that's being asked of the audience, will those be also available online?
Yes. In other words, will we convert these questions to an FAQ and update our? Yes, we absolutely will. And this webinar actually will be accessible online, so people in your office can just watch the webinar as well. And Brandon, we have one in the way back there, but let's go with this one first.
I'm wondering about the local hire forms and the workforce projection forms. Will those be through the system?
No, they will not. Not in the short term. Yeah. There's a lady in the white jacket back there, Brandon. She has been very patient.
We're a subcontractor, and we receive several payments. We have several programs, and we now receive lump sums. So now that you're going to be doing a direct deposits, will we get some kind of a notification on what is being paid?
Yes, absolutely. In fact,
and less cryptic than it is now, because sometimes it's very hard to figure out what you guys are actually doing.
It'll be much simpler to see what's being paid in the new system. You'll have on when you go to your web page, when you go to your landing page in the new system, you'll have the ability to create your own kind of work center. And what a work center is, it's the ability to kind of pull widgets onto the page. And so, say for example, if you're the bidder in your company and all you really want to see on your landing page is the opportunities that are open, then you would be able to see that. But if you're the invoice processor, you'll be able to see all outstanding invoices, all invoices that are in play, all invoices that have been paid. And then also you'll be able to see the payment record as well. So
as a subcontractor.
As a subcontractor. Sorry, you did say that. As a subcontractor, you will be able to view only your I don't know. You stumped me. Okay. Give that lady a cup of coffee. You stumped me. I don't know. I don't know what the subcontractors are going to see. So let me find that out for you. So
Great.
I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you. Hi, we're a service organization. So currently, one of the features that we see in CMS is a progress report. So my question is, in the new system, will we be seeing that as one of the features?
Are you a nonprofit?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So nonprofits, currently I know a lot of you work, how many nonprofits do we have in the office? Oh, wow. Whoa, okay. Lots of you. Great. By the way, let me just announce that we're working with so we know that there's about 10 departments that work with nonprofits, and we know that it's very important to those departments that their vendors are well informed. So what we're doing is we're going to meet with all of the department staff, because we also know that you guys are a little bit different in the way that you get paid and the way you contract with the city. So we're going to meet with all of your department staff on April 25th and to explain how it's going to work in the new system. And then they will communicate that out as well from their perspective, because every department's different. However, so going back to your question, you will continue to submit your invoices via the CitySpan system, and you'll continue to see that progress report in the CMS, or whatever they're calling it. I know the departments call it different things, but the reason, but you'll be, and then the invoice will actually get submitted by your department in through the system, into our system, into PeopleSoft. But you'll be able to track the payment as a vendor in the system, but you won't be able to see the progress report because that's being done in another system. The reason that we decided to do it that way is because progress reports have a lot of participant data attached, and we weren't comfortable bringing participant data into the system. We thought it made sense to keep it outside the system. That's a decision that we made early on. We may change that as we go forward and get more comfortable with the system, but we wanted to protect participant data, and so that's the decision that we made. Okay? Okay. Lady in the back there? Oh, we'll get to you.
We're still going to
Sorry.
be able to see which lovely city employee is holding on to our invoice without approving it?
You will be able to see where it is in the approval path. Yeah, you'll be able to see the status of it. You know, yeah, I know, and in Solus actually it does tell you who, and that's a good thing. I'm not sure actually. I will have to get back to you on that one as well. I don't know if it actually tells you the exact person or whether it just tells you the stage that it's at, but I will figure that out. So there was one right here, oh yeah, who's been very patient, lady in about the 5th row from the back.
Hey, this is about joint ventures. So if the company A is in your system, company B is in the system, and then form a joint venture as AB, will they register as AB in the system then?
Yes, because they're a new entity. However, there's a mechanism by which we can connect them to the other two, to the lead partner in the joint, so that there's a way to connect those accounts. Yeah.
Is the grant dealt separately, or is it a vendor? And because what is about the grants when you are saying that pay mode will be gone? So if like we are from City College and we get grants from city, so we have to invoice. So that way, it's like grant will be dealt separately, or it's like as a vendor. So how does that work?
So that's a great question. We have grants management capability in the system that's really cool. And so that, you know, we have grants from entities, say, for example, the federal government. We have this new grants management capability where we can track that. They're our customer. We provide information to them. And as part of that grants management, we are able to make contracts against that grant money and track it so that we can roll that information up and report to our customer. But if you're asking how grants, when we make, as a city, make grants to someone who's going to perform the work on the grant, it would be done just like we do our contracting. So we would create a contract, and then we would, you know, do a purchase order for, so for example, if you are the Y, and we have a grant, we have a large contract with you to deliver services at 4 different Ys around the Bay Area, we might open up a purchase order for each of those Ys to make sure that we're tracking them separately, but they would roll up to one contract. However, don't go back to your departments and say, Julie said, because however they want to do it is fine. The system is very flexible, and whatever makes sense to them, they can do, but the system has a lot of capability around that. So give me an example of that.
Like example from DPH, we get the grant.
Okay.
Under the grant, we get the grant from DPH, and from that grant, if we are giving some of the contracts to the other city departments, example.
I see. Oh,
so
to the other city departments, or?
Yeah, other city departments or like NGOs or like example whatever. So I wanted to understand that if city is giving us a grant, and then we have to create invoices for that city department, we have to go under the grant, or we have to consider ourselves as a vendor and then we create an invoice?
I'm going to take a stab at answering that question. I'm not 100% sure. That you would be treated like a vendor and that you would be receiving the grant as a vendor and you would be submitting invoices to us as a vendor. However, that sounds like a pretty unique situation, so why don't we talk offline about that?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I have another question. You mentioned earlier if we already send our invoices to the department directly, because I have 2 departments I do that with, I'll continue doing that up until what time?
Up until we roll you on to the new system as an online, as having the online invoicing functionality.
And
Then you'll submit it right into the system and it will be routed to the right department.
And you'll tell me when to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll hold your hand and everything. It's going to be very easy. Okay? In the middle here, after that, there's one there, Brandon, for the next one. Yes, sorry.
For EP, DST, and DPH, we submit invoices to them separately via email on a template basis. Will these templates be also in the system so we submit directly that way, or do we continue doing what we're doing, submitting to them, and then we get paid through pay mode?
You'll continue to submit it to them the way you're doing it now, but you will not get paid through pay mode. You'll get paid through our system.
Through a PeopleSoft.
Yeah.
So then that department will handle all of those payments.
So you'll continue to submit it to the department. Instead of the department turning around and putting it into whatever system they have now, they're going to put it into our system. And when I say our, I mean our collective city system now. And then you'll get paid from that system. And you'll be able to track your invoices through that system as well. Although DPH is really anxious to get on online invoicing, so I wouldn't be surprised if you were one of the next wave of vendors that gets on the system.
And then if we're partially online with other vendors within for MOH?
No, once you come on our system as an online invoicing, that's it. You're going to submit all your invoices online, even if other departments do it in a different way.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, maybe a few more questions. What's our time check? We're probably a little over, right? 10, 12? Okay. Why don't we have a few more, maybe 2 or 3 more, and then we'll wind up. And again, if you have follow-up questions, you can always shoot us an email at sfcitypartner@sfgov.org. Who's got the mic? Thank you.
Thank you. As a nonprofit, we have to answer to, well, I know I have to answer to a number of different city departments, and doesn't feel like Total Grant Solutions or CMS or the DPH is going to go to the system, so it would be helpful if we could just report to one. So that was one suggestion and statement. The other is, will our vendor information be ported over, or is that part of the registration process?
No, all of your current information is going to be ported over to the new system. You will need to come on day one to update any information that that may have changed in the meantime. But that's why we are encouraging you now to go to our website and update your information so that information can be ported over into the new system correctly. And then you'll be ready to go. Basically what's going to happen is, as long as you've created a point of contact and given us an email for that person on day one will get an email that says, hey, we just opened up the new system, come on in and update and check out all the functionality that there is to offer. So you'll be there.
So basically all we'll see is the stuff that we had seen in pay mode will be in the new PeopleSoft as a nonprofit. And will the list of those reporting mechanisms be posted? You said there were 90 that were going away. I'm hoping that some of my 6 are on that. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so remember on day one, you'll see, even though you won't be maybe submitting your invoice in the system, you'll still be able to track your invoices there. The system will be tracking your invoices. Okay. Who's got the mic?
This is the Buzz Solis again. As a subcontractor, right now, I can go to the public page and see if my prime is getting paid and if my invoice is included. So I'm hoping that it's more of a comment, but also I'm hoping that you're considering that in that public
Absolutely.
portal, that
Absolutely.
we would be able to reach that.
Yeah. So we will continue to have the public-facing page that that shows subcontractor prime vendor payments that like we have on Solus. And but don't expect it maybe day one, just because there's going to be a lot going on, and the reporting. One of the things that happens with a big system is the reporting is kind of wonky at first until you figure it all out. So the first month, I wouldn't rely too much on it, and then after that, you'll be free sailing. You'll be good. Okay. Okay. One more question. There's one right back there, Joe. That lady right there has been very patient, and then we'll get going.
Okay, this is another nonprofit question. So we have relationships with about 3 different departments, including SFUSD, and they're different. There's CMS, there's just invoicing directly. I'm not clear. I wasn't clear if all of our relationships are going to continue as is, or if some of them, like the ones that are using CMS, we're going to still use CMS, but then with other departments, we're going to be doing something different, and then with SFUSD, we're going to be doing something different. I wasn't clear on that.
So if you are not working with PUC or DPW, your life as a vendor with regard to invoicing is pretty much going to be the same moving forward for the short term. Okay? Then we will slowly bring you on to the system. And some departments that use, for example, CitySpan are pretty insistent on not wanting you to be in the system, and we're working through that. But and there's reasons for that. So I guess the short answer is, if you're a CBO and you're not currently in Solus and you're not currently in DPW's system, don't worry, your life is not going to change that much moving forward. You'll just have a place where you can check your compliance, check your invoices, and but if you're currently being paid through pay mode, you'll now be paid through our system. Okay?
And what about SFUSD? Is this all?
We're not SFUSD. They're a completely separate entity, and they've had PeopleSoft for years, but their system, unfortunately, is a little bit behind ours. We're doing the brand new one. But so if whatever you're doing now at SFUSD, you keep doing. Okay? Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.